Hey, what's up, guys? So these are my friends Lucas and Chad. Both of them have been talking to me separately about how they feel about evangelizing in their schools, and it's a topic that I think we should go over. Now, this video is, we're just going to start off by talking about how to get started evangelizing, how to get started talking to people about your faith. And a verse that I think really speaks about this is in Acts 8, when it talks about Philip, who's talking with an Ethiopian eunuch. And in the story, Philip is just walking on the road and he meets this man who's reading Isaiah. Now, Philip asks him this question: do you understand what you are reading? And the man says, no, he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand what he's reading because no one ever taught it to him. And I think in the same way, a lot of the people in our schools have heard about God, but no one really has taught them what a relationship with God is really about. Now, Lucas, I have a question for you. How do you start to be bold in your schools? How do you get started?
That's a good question. One thing that I do is just kind of take a friend that I know, kind of acquaintance, maybe a friend that I talk to sometimes, and just ask them if they go to church, or ask them like, do you believe in God, or like stuff like that. And it's important to do that because you want to get an underlying, like you want to get the underlying information of what they know already, and if they know anything at all. And maybe you can start inviting them to youth groups and stuff to start like evangelizing them into Christ.
I think that's really good because you're doing it understanding that they may not know a lot or they may know a lot. You have to find where they're at. Like this story, Philip finds and approaches this eunuch where he's at. So I think in the same way in our schools, we have to approach people where they're at, whether they were raised in the church but just don't have a great relationship with God, or they have never really been to church, don't really know anything about it.
Yeah, that's the thing, because when growing up, I never went to church. I just started going to church several years ago, and I've gotten to get a really close relationship with Christ. And I think that's important because you could basically, it doesn't matter where you started or where you're at, you can grow yourself into Christ.
Yeah, I like that. Chad, I have a question for you too. You two go to the same school. It's a really big school, and do you have any tips or any ways you could share about how to get started evangelizing?
Well, just talk to them like Lucas was saying. Just kind of talk to see what they know, and even like what he's also said, if they even know anything, and then bring them to youth group, or talk to them on the side when you're hanging out with them at your house or their house, and just hope that God's light will shine through you to them, and see how awesome it is to have God in your life.
A really important point I think you brought up is that it's really a simple thing, is that just talking to people about God. Now, it's scary, I know, but it's really a simple thing. But I think something very important that you said in that is you gotta let God do the work in their life. You're not gonna change their life just by you talking to them. All you can do is guide them down the right path. So I think that's a really important part about it. Now in Acts, we're just in chapter 8, and in chapter 7, it's the story about when Stephen is giving a speech to the Sanhedrin, and during that, he says some things that they ended up getting him killed, and he knew that when he was delivering the speech. Now, I think we need to have the same kind of boldness when we approach others in our schools. He says some things that he basically charges the Sanhedrin, the leaders, the Jewish leaders, with the death of Jesus, the death of an innocent man, and that's boldness. And in our schools, we have to be bold. Now, Lucas, I have one last question for you. What do you think is the best way for us to let people know that we're Christians? Now, you said talking to people, but is there any other ways you would say?
A few would be moral. Because there's a really big difference between a Christian like you'll notice the difference between a Christian person and like maybe a non-Christian. Like we tend to I don't know how to describe it, but it's more of it's kind of like
understanding that there's something different about us.
That's what I was about to get on. I just couldn't get it out.
Yeah, you're good. So understanding that there's something different. It's not always about the words that we say, but sometimes, most of the time, I think it's the things that we do. So, I think that's a good way to get started with this concept of evangelizing in our schools. And I think this can apply to beyond just high school. It can go to middle school, college, workplace even. And yeah, I think that's a good start, is being bold, starting to talk to people and inviting people to stuff. So guys, thanks for watching, and let's get this going, guys. Let's change the world.